to the Grand Central Sports Hub. I am Jay-Z, Diamond Dan, Mr. Soriano. Welcome to the first ever annual MLB preview show. So I hope you missed us last week. Gentlemen, how are you doing tonight?
Fantastic.
Not all at once, all right? Like, fucking go here.
There's no cue cards, man. I don't know what to do, so yeah, man. Things are good. Ready for a July 4th weekend. Let's hope it's not our last ever Independence Day celebration. So, we got baseball coming back. We got NBA odds. We got them all. We got horse racing. We got, it's like nothing ever changed.
Nothing ever changed, but a lot of things. Seth Kenner's on assignment tonight. He is preparing for his 4th of July fireworks extravaganza, and we wish him all of the luck, and we'll see him next week. So here's the deal for this show tonight. There is a lot going on in the world of sports this week and today, but this is all dedicated to baseball for the next hour plus tonight. We need to do it. Here's the deal. There could be a lot of things that get in the way. There's still the virus out there, as we all know. But if we don't start thinking positively, I don't know about you guys. If I don't start thinking that there's going to be a baseball season, 60 games or not, I'm going to go absolutely crazy than I already am. So this is all positivity tonight, guys. None of this, what happens if guys, this happens, that happens. We're assuming we're having a 60-game season. It's going to go off without a hitch, and that is the premise of tonight's show. Are we all on board for that?
Sounds fantastic.
I hope it's fantastic. All right.
So let me get ready for the show.
So as usual, you were best prepared for the show with your bar setup at your house. It's a very nice bar setup. I tried to convince Matt to buy a craps table the other morning. Just shot him like a $2,000 craps table to add to his bar setup.
It was blue and yellow though.
So if we do a green and nice mahogany table, you might be on board, correct?
Absolutely.
I would hope
plenty
so.
of room for it.
So the first question, and so Mr. Soriano is our National League expert, right? You're our National League correspondent. So
yeah, I'm not an expert on the National League at all.
Before we get into our predictions, National League and American League and some of the other things, we need to talk about what this makes this season unique. Here's the deal. It's 60 games. That's crazy in itself, but there are some new things that are going to affect this season quite a bit. So for the National League, the DH is in. How does that affect National League teams? Are there any teams specifically that might benefit from this? Or are you happy or angry about this?
In the National League?
Right. Well, the American League's always had a DH. So, yes, the National League.
Well, no.
What's your deal?
It's bittersweet, and I'll tell you for a couple of reasons. One, what Met fan can forget Bartolo Colon just sprinting around the bases in Petco Park? But, the Mets do have pitchers that can rake, and I think there's something about the chess match that goes on between managers in the National League. With pinch hitters and, lefty righty, but it's a little bit more cautious because, you got to get your bullpen set just right. But I think two teams specifically that are going to benefit are the Dodgers, who already have a fantastic lineup, but now you got Mookie Betts in there too with Bellinger. So now they've got just another monster threat. You've got now an extra bat that you've got to get through. And then you look at the Mets, who
big shocker.
Well, hold on, and if I have to take the jersey off, I will. But you look at the last 80 games of the season last year. Mets had the best record in the National League. Alonso was a rookie. They didn't have Cespedes. Conforto had one of the best, I think, the best season of his life. And now you didn't have Cespedes there. Cespedes is back. You don't have to put him in the outfield. You don't have to play Cano every day. You have a deep bench with some guys that really have some pop. And when you're only playing in the division 60 games and you get to play in Philadelphia for 20% of those, those guys absolutely destroy that ball field. So I think the Mets really benefit from that. So I think overall, as much as you lose, the advantage on the pitching side of having to only get through 8 players in the lineup, you pick up a really nice advantage on certain teams, at least that were built with a plethora of hitting.
No, I think the Mets are one of them. Dan, with Cano, as you know, he's like 70 years old. This could really benefit the Mets, and I think the Mets should advocate for this sticking around.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think this is something that Major League Baseball has played around with or at least, theoretically, for the past couple of seasons. Now they're going to get a chance to test it out. So I think it favors, several teams in the National League. If you just, you can rotate the lineup. I mean, and you approach it more like the American League. I mean, it'll be entertaining. You'll have guys that qualify for that make the roster, whatever. That you could put in those slots, and you could have like a Matt Stairs almost. If you remember back in the late 2000s, Matt Stairs like hit that massive home run in the 2008 World Series. Like that was the only reason he was even on the bench and was on the playoff lineup, was to get up in that situation and hit a home run, and he did. So you could have that kind of situation, I think, and it's really it's not a crapshoot necessarily, but depending on who makes these rosters and if they play and how they do it, I'm all for it. I think it'll speed the game up, which is what Major League Baseball wants, and it will make it more compelling.
I think the Mets also have one other thing. Sorry, Jason, to cut you off there, but Dominic Smith was supposed to be the kind of the first baseman of the future. Pete Alonso comes onto the stage and really just explodes last year, and now they tried Dominic Smith in left field. Now they've got no room for him in left field. What do you do with the kid? And it's either going to be a showcase position for him this year over 60 games to show that could be part of a package, or that maybe he could be an everyday first baseman somewhere else. But it's really an embarrassment of riches for them at this point. And if they're going to need to compete, especially with losing Thor in the rotation, it's a good problem to have.
He once hit 3 home runs off me on MLB The Show.
Dominic Smith?
Yes.
I think I recall that.
Same game, yes. I was playing the computer, and he hit 3 home runs off of me. David's not wrong. 60 games, here's the deal. Player, if you can keep your team healthy, the Mets, in all seriousness, have a terrific starting rotation. 60-game season is in their wheelhouse.
Okay. Let's not take all my Mets material for the NL East, please. Okay.
So Eric wants to know who will be the first player to test positive for COVID because of adult activities.
That would be Odell Beckham Jr.
He didn't specify what sport, right? So for Eric, for not specifying what sport, Odell is a really good one. I'm going with Antonio Brown if he has a team.
I'm going to agree with Dan, but I'm going to add a caveat to that. It's going to be Odell Beckham Jr. celebrating his trade to the New England Patriots.
And if you, I'm sorry, this is a baseball preview, but if you don't think Odell Beckham Jr. is getting traded to the Patriots, you are a corpse. He's going to be there, no doubt in my mind. Beckham's wearing Patriots jersey in a few months,
and he's going to fail there too.
Yeah, even before the Stidham era, as short as it was, began. I mean, that was almost it was almost too tantalizing to think that it wouldn't happen, right? When in an absence of Tom Brady, no Josh Brown, not Brown. Who am I thinking of? Josh Gordon, right?
Yeah.
I was prepared for baseball. I got to get back to football.
right?
There's always been that sort of wild card, outside receiver for the Patriots. Whether it went from Randy Moss to Josh Gordon this season. Not that you can compare those two, but and if they play football, we'll talk about that when they get to it.
Right. Courtney Cox, not the actress, thinks it'll be Gronk. That's a good one. And David wants us to get back to baseball.
Sorry, David.
In all fairness, could you imagine if Aaron Hernandez was alive during this pandemic?
All right, moving on.
Back to baseball we go. We have another rule change this year, and this is deplorable. And this is where Rob Manfred has lost his ever-living mind. In extra innings, each team will begin with a runner on second base in order to not have long games during the short season. Here's the thing. Let me ask you both the question. Do you prefer this, or you prefer baseball saying, okay, we're going to call a tie after 12 innings? If given the choice, what would you rather have?
I put the guy at second base every time. No ties.
I mean,
but this
I
is
agree.
Not baseball. You're going to bunt, sack, fly. It's bullshit.
I agree with Dan in theory. Like, if I have no other choice, but I don't want to choose between those two. Baseball is about the drama of the ongoing game. I mean, 18 innings of back and forth and back and forth.
There's nothing that says that can't still happen. So it probably won't. I mean, it lowers the odds, but
Rob Manfred wants to take all of our joy out of our hearts and stomp on it.
He's giving you baseball in the middle of a global pandemic. Brat.
He's not giving us anything. Okay.
He could have given it to us in April.
We don't have a choice here. We're not getting 16 inning games. You got a runner on second. My problem with that is it's been done in other leagues, minor leagues. You bunt, you sack fly, you win a game. That is not baseball. I'd rather play real baseball for 2 more innings, and then call a tie if you have to do it. The runner on second nonsense is nonsense.
Okay, so do that, but have one out to start the inning.
There you go. Break the first batter's legs. See what happens.
Instead of putting the runner on second, just being the guy.
Right. Just, I mean, they've moved like Major League Baseball has already tried to move the game along, with intentional walks that, don't require 4 pitches and all that other, the pitch clock and all that other stuff. I think for a 60-game season that would be given, if it happens, you let it happen. And I think that's a good question from Eric there is that,
I have the answer. The runner will be the player in the batting order immediately preceding that half innings leadoff hitter or a pinch runner.
It's the guy who made the last out, was my understanding.
Right, that's the easiest way to say it. The guy who made the last out. And the wording on ESPN article. I'm not. I'm reading an article. All right, so we hate it. It's bullshit. We hate it, but we're stuck with it. Is that
you hate it? I like it. I think it's going to be. I do.
I don't love it.
You wait
until a tie.
The Yankees lose a game because of a sack fly, a bunt and a sack fly, and I got to hear your nonsense text for the next 7 hours.
Well, just get ready. I don't know.
Just don't forget, Mr. Baseball put it right. There's no ties in baseball.
Fuck, that's right. I mean, you can't, and you have obviously a short season, an incubator for potential ideas. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You move on.
An incubator for a lot of things. That's not exactly the best term right now. All right, here's another rule that was already planned. The relief pitcher must face a minimum of 3 batters. I hate this already to begin with, but I don't think it's the right season to even be doing this, to be screwing around with guys on this kind of a season. What do you think?
Again, it goes back to strategy. It's ruin. It's going to ruin the lefty specialist. If John Franco is he alive? He's alive, right? Yeah. If John Franco was still playing,
history of the league, right?
What's that?
Best lefty relief pitcher of our lifetime.
He is the winningest lefty reliever ever. Yeah.
Well, wasn't Hoffman? Hoffman a lefty?
I thought Hoffman was the all-time.
Yeah. Hoffman is a lefty, but he was the save leader until Soriano, right?
Yes, that's correct. Okay, so John Franco is the greatest son of a garbage man to ever play baseball. Okay, whatever the statistic is, he would never be able to make it. He was a junk baller who was a decent closer, but he was really lights out against left-handed pitching.
He would never. You're right. In this baseball life, he would not be a thing, John Franco.
He'd have to put snot on the ball.
I'm a lefty, so I hate it. I don't know. We grew up a lefty specialist. It was a thing. These aren't things that make baseball boring. These aren't the problems with baseball.
No, I think what makes baseball boring is the 900 throw the first base when you know the guy's not going to go, but you're just trying to get into his head.
The time of batters stepping out, pitchers waiting for the next pitch. Cut down on that stuff. Don't mess with the integrity of the game. I don't like it. There is a trade deadline this year, August 31st. There's been some questions about how, if that's okay. You got guys living in, I don't know. You got an unprecedented time, and now you got guys with the threat of the virus may have to get traded in the middle of the season. Should they have not had trades this year, or do we care?
Contracts are contracts, dude. You know, I mean,
trades. I mean, I don't know. Ethically speaking, there's some questions there.
If this is going to count as a service year for these guys and their year against their contract, and if that's how it's going to be, by all means.
If I was a Yankee fan, I would want to see Brett Gardner get traded at some point. So not without you want Brett Gardner to make the last out in every ninth inning in a home game. You want him on second base.
I love Brett Gardner. He's becoming one of my favorite Yankees of all time. Who let the guy with the minor league jersey on the show? Yikes! Ouch. Yikes!
You know, Spellman's great uncle's probably rolling in his grave right now.
That's really it. There's some things with DLs, with COVID DL, and some other. That's the season that we're going to have. So why don't we start rolling in some of our so Dan, what I did for the AL is I sketched out some thoughts. So we'll have a little back and forth on that before we get to Mr. Soriano now. How does that sound?
All right. Sounds good to me. And Connor just wanted to say hi.
Hi, Connor.
Hello, man.
He's apparently eating crayons, so he's going to be a Mets fan when he grows up.
We all have.
All right, let's go.
Yeah, I'm having a small technical issue here. Let me get to AL Central. Sorry.
Live TV, folks, right here.
It's really wonderful.
Babies and breakdowns.
I don't know why I'm only showing the AL East.
All right.
Oh, that's
He's eating crayons. He's either going to join the Marine Corps or become a Mets fan.
He could do both.
I know an ex-Marine who ate a lot of crayons, so. And he's an American hero.
Hey, here's to America. Independence Day weekend.
That's right.
That is.
I'm gonna watch Band of Brothers in 1776 and sob myself drunk.
Don't forget John Adams. You got to add John Adams to that list.
Absolutely, sir. I might even have time for the Dirty Dozen.
I think we're all teed up here. Let's start with the AL. Let's start with the AL Central. So here's the thought. I think the Twins are really dangerous. They were dangerous last year. The Yankees are, of course, their kryptonite, and I think the Twins are a scary team in a 60-game season, Dan. And then I just notable. I think the White Sox are getting better, and the Indians have popped and now are heading downward. And the Royals and the Tigers aren't even trying.
So are these are your predictions? Obviously.
These are my predictions. So please add if you agree or disagree or your thoughts.
I would agree with this. I would probably replace Indians with the White Sox. I mean, at the break, so at 60 games last season, the Indians were 30-30.
Okay.
Right, so they were a middling franchise, and they were kind of bumping along, and they went 63-39 down the stretch and made the playoffs. Okay. So, I mean, they're not, they have a potent lineup, Lindor in there, they're a good team. I would probably take the White Sox and move them down. The Twins are a dangerous team. The Yankees own them, apparently, and have for years. I forgot the Tigers play baseball in Detroit still.
I think you have them ranked a little high.
Like if you're playing the majority of your game, games within your division or within the American League, the 15 is probably fairly accurate, maybe a little low, give them 2 or 3 more, but they're not a factor. And then you figure you've taken the first 3 months. See, the other thing with Detroit, so like last season they were 23-37 at 60 games, so you're right where Kansas City is at this time, or in your prediction. Yeah, and some of those games, as you know, were snowed out, rained out. They played in terrible weather in Detroit. And you string together 6 or 9 games at home, and you have, a tough fan environment. You're playing teams that are, coming in to like beat on you. They're sort of like the AL Central Orioles. So, I think the Twins. I'm not sure if the Twins. What is it? Jose Barrios or
yes.
Barrios? I mean, that guy he's a blue chip top talent. I think he was, should have been considered, at least looked at for the Cy Young last year. And then after that, what do you like? Where does that pitching staff go? And they have a shaky bullpen. And if you're
that's what I worry about. I think their lineup is good, and there's questions about their bullpen and their starting rotation. Odorizzi is their number 2.
Yeah. Okay. I mean,
Maeda is their 3, and Hill is their 4th. I think after the first 2, I'm not scared.
Yeah, I'm not really that worried. If you go through, I mean, what they played the 1 game play-in last year, right? Or was it? I don't even remember. I can't recall. But I think you get shallow after the first one start from Barrios, and then Odorizzi can give you 5 innings, and then it goes downhill from there. Great lineup. You have a lot of potential there. The Yankees swept Minnesota, right?
Yeah. So I mean, the playoffs are the playoffs. I just think for this division, I think the Twins are in it to actually improve. They are making steps.
I mean, if late season Terry Francona and the Indians show up, look out! Like they
have the chance to get hot.
Yeah, I mean, the White Sox are coming around, like they're building, but I would give this division, the AL Central, to a toss-up between the Twinkies and the Indians, which I'm sure will be, the Cleveland, bus drivers before the end of this season.
Yes. And here's the thing I just thought about. My whole thing with the Indians are they've treaded water for so long, and I think they're just at a point where they're not improving their team anymore, and things inevitably start going south. That's where I put them. I think they're better than the White Sox on paper, but I'm starting to feel like this is the beginning of the end for that.
Teams going in different directions.
Yeah, I mean, the Indians are a good team, especially towards the end of the season. It's just a matter, and now you're starting the season at the end of July, and if that's if these guys are ready to go, they're ready to go.
So this might be what will be the closest division. Well, maybe the only 3-team hunt, although I didn't even score it as such for the AL and the West. Now, the thing about a short season is this is my one. I think crazy shit's going to happen division. One of these divisions is going to have crazy shit's going to happen. I think it's going to be this one. I've always been this closet like A's guy. I love rooting for them, and I actually think they're gonna pull some nonsense off this year. The Astros are not bad. They're gonna get lucky with no fans in the stands, and they'll still make it a wild card. And the Angels aren't quite good enough yet.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I might move Texas over Anaheim.
Oh, wow.
I mean, if you're talking about, Texas is playing in a new stadium this year at home. Granted, no fans. It's you saw it. It's across the street. The Angels are still Mike Trout and everybody else. What will be interesting is the player reaction with no fans to the Houston, tape video gate and all that other stuff. I mean, the A's are a dangerous team. I might switch Houston and the A's there, but keep the numbers. And remember, a lot of these teams are going to play each other a lot, and they're playing, on the West Coast, and the travel is down. Seattle becomes irrelevant, and they should bring the Supersonics back and just play basketball.
This division could be fun. A couple games here, a couple games there changes the whole thing.
But I think this division is where at least in the American League, where the shootout of 60 games, double headers or whatever you want to call it, back to back games becomes very interesting.
Yeah. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to hold off in the AL East until the end. This is called a teaser. We're going to make you hang around for the AL East. So we're going to move to the National League, and our National League correspondent, Mr. Soriano, developed what I have to tell you. You put a lot of time and energy into this today. You really did. I'm very impressed with you.
I did this last night.
I mean, it's beyond impressive, and it's pretty wild. So lead us through your thought process here.
So we want to start on the Central Division.
Wherever you want to start.
So let's talk about the Central. I personally think the Brewers, again, we'll talk a little bit about you've got a potential MVP candidate with Yelich. The guy just, absolutely hammers the ball. You saw him go into the home run derby. You could just see him when he's free swinging. Short season, he got hurt at the end of last year. I think that they're going to be on top of things. They've never seemed to have been able to get over the hump, and I think when they don't have to run out of gas at the end of the year, that's really going to be where they're a team that tends to benefit from a shortened season. Most of the I don't want to get too far into the betting, but most of the betting houses are really pushing the Reds down everybody's throats as kind of the darling team. Scott Boras had this big thing where he's saying, "Don't sleep on the Reds. Don't sleep on the Reds."
The pitching is pretty good.
The pitching is pretty good, but the reality is that there are little league teams that play in bigger ball fields than they do. They have a very tiny ballpark, and so in a division where you've got big hitters, in Chicago and in Milwaukee, as good as their pitching is, you're still playing in a really small ballpark. I chose Pete Rose for them because I wouldn't bet on them. I just don't. I think they're. I think they are one big signing in 1 year with a full season away from really competing. And as one of the oldest franchises in baseball, I think it's a good thing for the game. The Cubs, the Black Cat is back with a worse cycle than Halley's Comet. They're going to have to wait another 110 years for the next championship, is my opinion.
Yeah, you're
I think that Theo did a really good job of putting that team together, but they had disharmony the last 2 years. The glue's starting to come apart, and there just hasn't been a lot of cohesion, and they've been on a downward slide, similar to the Indians. Those are two teams that peaked around the same time when they both won the World Series. The Cards, again, I can't stand Tony La Russa. Absolutely can't stand the guy. Obviously,
he's a Red Sox lackey now.
Wow. It would make sense going from scandal to scandal to scandal, from juicing up the boys in Oakland to juicing in St. Louis to now with Spygate. But I think this is going to be a close division, but I think it's pretty well stacked. The Pirates, their glory days were with Bonds and Bonilla. It's a real shame. I think they have the best, outside of, in my opinion, Citi Field. I think they have one of the best ballparks in America. They have a great and loyal fan base, and they really should have a good team. When there was just two divisions and the Mets were in the NL East with them, I used to love going to watch the Mets play the Expos and the Pirates because both, the games were always really competitive. Out west, the Dodgers are going to win the division.
Real quick, I just this Brewers thing. So you have them at 32-28. It's a really good guess. Last year, for the first 60 games, they won 34 games, and they're really good in short stretches. That last stretch of last year to the finish line, they were fantastic. I think they're really scary. I'm on board with it. Dan, do you have anything different?
No, I agree.
I mean, the Reds are good. I just think the Brewers are more complete package. The Brewers have a bullpen.
Their bullpen is their strength. I mean, when you can, you get Yelich out there for 6 innings, go build a 3-run lead, it's Loctite. In my opinion, at least in the American League, when you're talking about a 60-game season, this is going to come down to pitching. right? And runs scored and all that. And I mean, pitching is going to be where it's at. And I mean, you're going to have to keep 1-run leads, and you're going to have to, get it to the bullpen in the 7th or 8th inning. It's not going to be like it was last year and the previous 10 years, where you could hand it off to the bullpen in the 5th. Like, I don't think it's going to be like that. And that's, in the National League, maybe with a pitcher not batting, that's going to be a different story. So, or at least it changes the story. So you let a pitcher kind of sit there, rest, and I don't know how many, like, that would have been a good talking point, I guess, to know how many pitchers moved from the American League to the National League this year and where they ended up. But, I think that will play. Like, pitching is going to play a major factor in how these games are decided.
In my mind, the next division you're going to talk about is going to be predetermined before the season starts. Go ahead.
That's an interesting comment. I think the class of the National League right now is the Dodgers. I think
bettors agree. Bookmakers agree.
The book and a lot of bookmakers are saying that they're going to win the World Series. I disagree.
75. I mean, Jesus.
I don't think they're going to win with Roberts as their manager, and that is why I have christened one of the great Dodgers Italian-American catchers in a long line of great Dodgers Italian-American catchers, Mr. Mike Scioscia, as their heir apparent manager for next year, because Roberts will get fired when the Dodgers go out in the first round of the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
If that happens, he absolutely will get fired. And the fact he didn't get fired after last season.
Well, you got to kind of throw him a mulligan.
I don't know.
I mean, the Nationals last season. I mean, not to jump ahead, but I mean, their back half of the season was insane.
Yeah.
I mean, they were 27-33 at 60 games last year.
No, I don't think anybody, once you got to the playoffs in the National League, was going to stop them from winning the title.
Yeah, I mean,
as much as that pains me.
Two tough series, like, they just came together, and I mean, the starters were they were outstanding. It was fun to watch.
Yeah,
you had. Wow. I know it's not your cup of tea, but I mean, when and there became a thing like Howie Kendrick, right? You get small, got role players again that come up, and like every time Howie stepped into the box, it was like something's going to happen here. It was just one of those things where it almost seemed predetermined.
They were down a lot, but you couldn't you could not get them out.
Right. And for a team that's, I mean, I lived in Washington D.C. Jason lived in the area. Like, a team that struggled to bring fans in that would come and see Syndergaard, or they would come to see Kershaw, pitch, as opposed to actually come and see the team that plays, half a mile from Capitol Hill. They rallied the city and people got excited, and it was, that was a winner, man.
To that point, Dan, I don't think we're looking at, for this season's champion, I don't think we're looking at a Dodgers. I think we're looking at a Brewers. I think we're looking at another team that is dangerous, that can get hot and pull it off. That's the way I feel like it's going to play out.
Well, I'm pins and needles waiting for Mr. Soriano's NL East prediction.
So in the West, Dodgers clear it away.
I want to be polite.
But you do have the Padres tied for the second best record, so a wild card. Did you see anything special there, or was that just like they're good, better?
Well, listen. They're spending money. When
Manny,
you've got Manny, you've got Eric Hosmer. I think that they've tried to put the team together. You've got Zach Davies. I think that it's not just again, you're playing within the division. It's not just an indication of the Padres, a team that accidentally gave away their Twitter handle last year on Mother's Day and changed it to the Madres and then couldn't get back the Padres. Just goes to show you how bad of an organization they were, worse than the Mets for a day.
For a day.
For one day, the Mets were not the worst organization in baseball, but I just think that they're going to have a strength of schedule, so to speak, playing so many games against the Rockies and the Giants.
That's a very good point. The same thing went for those two good teams in the Central. They're playing other teams not on their tier.
Yeah. So I think they have that benefit of, they've got a guy who now has the pressure of being the guy on the team in his second year, shortened season, and they could beat up on the lower tier teams in a short season and really get some momentum behind them.
Yeah,
real quick about Machado.
And they're used to playing in front of no fans.
Right. Real quick about Manny. On the show, I elected on MLB The Show 20 for some reason to do a franchise with the Padres. At the All-Star break, Manny was batting under 200, and I traded him for Miguel Andujar and Luis Severino. I think I won that trade. Cashman did it. I didn't force it. You can't force it. Cashman allowed it. In fact, I tried to trade him straight up. No joke. I tried to trade him straight up for Andujar, and then Cashman said, no, take Severino too. I swear to God.
Wow. So, and you have to pay for his surgery, though.
I swear, that's what happened. And now I got them. It's great.
No Dr. Ahmad this time around.
Oh man! All right, enough with the West. Holy crap, it's boring. We just talked.
Oh wait! You don't want to talk about the Yankee picture I got up there? Is that why you're skipping over that?
What? Oh yeah, no. So
I can't even see it. Oh, I see. Never mind.
Game 7, 2001.
Yeah, we just discussed.
Hey, can we just say? I mean, that was a lot better than the 2000 World Series. It was a riveting World Series. Regardless,
this is the 20th anniversary of the not Hall of Famer Clemens trying to kill Hall of Fame
Mike Piazza.
I'm
not going to defend Roger Clemens. So
it's indefensible.
They must have a "don't ask, don't tell." The quota they have to meet.
Now, the only division in the NL that has 4 teams that could contend for the division is the East. But you really undercut the Phillies here. But I'll let you get into it. This is the division that has 4 teams that can win it. Go ahead.
You also undercut the Braves. That's
of course.
Okay, well, first of all, I think you have to give credit to the Nationals. I don't think there's going to be a hangover because it's a short season and they've had a few months to be hung over. And I think, they really gel together. They've got a good pitching staff. And, it's not like I gave them 20 games over 500. So, but I think the Mets, had they not lost Thor, were a big threat in that division.
So, Matt, let me ask you this: because the team did gel so well last year, and then you take their spiritual leader Ryan Zimmerman out of the equation, what happens now?
Yeah, I think it was I think he's a little selfish, but a lot of people said that they weren't going to win anything without Bryce Harper, and a lot of people said that the Phillies were going to be at least a wild card team last year. And everybody made fun of Bryce Harper for his faux pas in his Phillies introductory press conference when he said, we're going to bring a championship to Washington. And sure enough,
they sure did.
The Nationals first year without him won. And sometimes you don't have to have all the best pieces. Sometimes you just have to have the swagger. So,
well, the Nationals are the definition of swagger, which is why I think it's not going to be good.
They have the ring. Until somebody else has the ring, they have the ring.
But they acted with swagger all you like. To your point, Dan, earlier about how they acted down the stretch, that team had swagger. It was fun.
The thing was, they were like, you can go ahead of us, and we're still going to beat you because our pitchers are going to last. They're going to, Strasburg and Scherzer and all those guys, and even Doolittle. See, the thing was, the reason why I'm blanking on, I could see his face, but you didn't have the pitchers in the early 2010s, whatever, that were ready to close the door, and they got spooked. And these guys were out there, and they got the run support. They were like, "Come on, beat us, go ahead." And then every team failed to do so.
The Mets were a really good comeback team last year. And, the Nationals a couple times at the end of the year when the Mets were on fire pulled their own, that same trick on the Mets when the Mets would, be up 6-7 runs halfway through the game, and the Nats would just not stop coming. Now, it didn't help that they had Edwin Diaz. Ed Luz Diaz. But, I think
Listen, but here's the thing about the Mets bullpen. If they can straighten these idiots out, it could be really good.
Well, there's so many things that let's do the Mets last because.
So wait, it's hard.
I think the NL East is very compelling, though. I think it's probably the most interesting division out of all of them.
The NL East have the two best starting rotations in baseball: the Nationals and the Mets.
First of all, the two best pitchers in baseball are in the AL East and the NL East.
But the rotation, the Nats and the Mets.
Yes,
one through five.
Even without Thor, it's going to be really hard to get through Mets. Even without Wheeler, like the Phillies are laughing, oh, we got Zach Wheeler from the Mets. In 60 games, in 12 starts, you can have Zach Wheeler because he's a head case.
Thor's going to hurt. Thor is going to hurt. But you know what? Marcus, you talk about swagger. One thing that the Mets remind me of, especially with Pete Alonso, because they are still a relatively young team, they remind me a lot of the Rangers right now. And I'm not talking about the Texas Rangers. They remind me a lot of the New York Rangers. Those guys last year with a 23, 24-year-old Pete Alonso, they really followed the young players on the team. They gelled. They came together. After the 69 Mets 50th anniversary party when Ed Kranepool got up there and said, hey, listen, we were in last place. It doesn't matter. You guys can still make a run. The young guys on the team were the ones that got up and said, hey, we can do this. So Marcus Stroman comes in. Now, they didn't do it. But they can't, they fought. Marcus Stroman comes in, and he's from Long Island. He wasn't a member of the team. And he grew up with Steven Matz, and he immediately gelled with the team. He's 4 feet tall, but the guy can at least pitch, and he fights.
He's a deal.
Hey. Hi, Seth. How you doing?
Hey.
What's up, guys? How's
Great.
it going?
Now, not like another Yankee fan to the game.
No.
Now we're ganging up on you.
No, seriously.
How's my show going? No, I'm joking.
Damn, boss.
We're carrying it for you, you son of a bitch.
No, listen. I had some things come up this week.
You didn't pull a Jason Pierre-Paul and knock your hand off with the fireworks, right?
Oh,
Not yet.
No,
Like
although I
that.
might knock my hand off when I go beat up these kids out in my backyard who are shooting off fireworks on July 2nd. Yes, I'm that old guy. Get off my lawn.
Nice. All right. So I don't know where we're at here, but how much you've seen of the show. But do you have any
Listen,
any initial comments on our predictions so far?
listen. I think you guys have done a great job preparing, but you're wasting your breath. There's not going to be baseball this year.
Oh, don't do that to me.
Not gonna, and I'm going to tell you why. Because your state, Florida, California, does not know how to handle a crisis, and it's ruined everything for everybody else. There will be no baseball this year, none. The NBA.
I think we said that about a month and a half ago.
Well, they're not going to play. They're not going to play.
Jason's going to go cry in his backyard right now.
Going to play.
You have 100,000 cases potentially happening over the course on a daily basis here. You think they're going to play baseball? You're going to play professional sports under those circumstances? I want them to play as much as everybody else.
Seth, will Nevada shut down casinos before August 6th?
No.
Why is August 6th that date, Matthew?
No particular reason. It's 6 is my lucky number.
Roll those dice.
So
That's just
Hard 6 coming out.
no, it's okay. Listen, I mean, this is crazy, and every day it's a new story. We're just electing to try to be positive about it tonight.
Honestly, my honest opinion on all this is, I say 70-30 they start. But I will say this. If they do start, they're going to finish. They are going to finish.
Okay.
They will.
Yeah, that's what she said.
That's always
Who will be
the finish.
Who will be the first player to
I-
drop dead on national TV? fire.
Odell Beckham Jr.
I just see this going the wrong way right now. And I think team sports, listen, you want to drive cars around the racetrack, you want to have golf, it's fine. But I think team sports are at a whole different level. I think football's in trouble, to tell you the truth.
Well, I would agree with that, Seth. I mean, if you're looking at – take a look at if you just referenced golf, right? If you look at the Travelers this weekend, it was a fine tournament held in the great state of Connecticut, sort of great state of Connecticut, right? And they had been pitching it during all of the run-up to the Belmont and Premier League games, that this was the biggest and greatest field that the PGA was going to put out this year. And then Brooks Koepka's caddy got sick. 2 other caddies got sick. A player tested positive. And 5 guys, in the top 15 dropped out, 3 days before the tournament started. Yet NBC still put it on the air, and Dustin Johnson won the tournament because guys like long drives. Chicks dig the long ball, right? So that's what's going to sell ad space. And that's all these guys give a fuck about at this point.
You could sell ad space on a golf cart. You don't need a caddy for that.
Well, I'm saying during the production, during the during the TV. I mean, we'll talk about this later this month, but I mean, the U.S. Open is the same story, right? The U.S. Open tennis, right? Think about the ad dollars that goes into all of that. And Novak Djokovic goes and has a giant party in fucking Croatia or wherever it is, greatest player or best player in the world right now, and he's sick. Right? And he's committed to the Open. And they're like, fuck yeah, it's going to happen. It'll be the most exciting show in Queens, believe me.
I hope they play. I want them to play. I hear everybody talking about the X's and O's of what's going to happen over the course of the season on Sports Talk Radio here in New York. And I'm just having trouble warming up to the fact that there's actually going to be a season. I think I texted you guys earlier. Call me when it's a week out. That's kind of where I am with it right now.
I agree.
I have my thoughts on how the season could go, and I'm happy to chime in with predictions for what my opinion's worth.
Well, we need you for 2 divisions.
Hold on. I have a question, though.
Yeah.
If you see players like Ryan Zimmerman and Ian Desmond who have already stepped up and stated that they're not going to play this year, they're going to sit it out, and, does that mean Zimmerman's already fought? I mean, look, he's been fighting off retirement claims since they hoisted the trophy over their head, right?
Yeah.
So now he comes out and says he's not going to play. He's an older gentleman, of course, whatever. And then, I forgot that Ian Desmond was even still in the league, first of all. And then he's like, fuck it, I'm not going to play either. So is that going to start a cascade of other players that just somehow don't play and sit out the season?
I think as the situation worsens, I think it's going to take one big name for all the dominoes to fall.
I don't disagree that could happen. So Seth, real quick let's pretend we're going to play baseball.
Okay.
The National League East. You see Mr. Soriano there with his predictions. Do you have anything different real quick before? Then we got to go to the AL East.
All right.
Well, of course he does. I have the Mets in a playoff spot.
I do think even without Syndergaard, I do think the Mets are well positioned to go to the playoffs. So I'm going to take the Nationals, and I'm actually going to flip them with the Braves. So I'm going to have the Braves. I think the Braves are a powerhouse. I'm going to take the Braves to win the National League East. I'm going to take the Mets as a wild card. But I think the Mets are very well positioned to do some good things this year, especially in a shortened season.
Okay.
And I think the fact that they don't have Syndergaard isn't going to be as big of a deal because you're not talking about as long of a season. I actually think the Mets are built very well over the course of a 60-game year. I take the Braves. I'm going to flip them with the Nationals.
Right. If you're looking at it from an NBA perspective, this is why I went all in on the Rockets, right? I mean, they're built for a short season. They're built for a shootout, and the Mets are also in that boat. But I would agree with. I mean, I think Mr. Soriano, you are seriously undervaluing the value, the Atlanta Braves. And I know that kills you.
The NL East is going to be a lot of fun. The NL East is going to be
the most entertaining division in this whole shit.
If Chipper Jones gets coronavirus, I will root for them to get to win the NL East.
Larry.
So we have left one division for last. It's not the best division, but it's our division. So we're actually going to bring in a new correspondent to the show as well, and welcome Josh Josh into the show, and we have a resident Red Sox fan.
Hey, everybody. I'm glad to be here in enemy territory.
Raise your hand if your team's beating the Red Sox in the World Series.
At least there's only one
Seth,
of you.
Seth, I'm not sure if it's you, but I'm hearing some feedback in someone's ears. It may be. So figures it's only fair to be represented from all aspects as much as we can. I don't know any Orioles fans. But
Hold on, Josh. Where do you live?
I currently live in the D.C. area.
Okay. Where did you grow up in Boston?
No Boston. I have a wife that's from. Yeah. Grew up in Arizona, family in New Hampshire.
All right.
So I had to live with that. D-backs didn't come around until I was a little older. So
they're gonna leave soon anyway.
Yeah, probably. Arizona's gonna fall off with COVID anyway.
So
what do you know? A Red Sox fan that's not from Massachusetts. Stunning.
There's a lot of windows up on the screen right now. I penciled out my predictions for the AL East earlier today. You can call them homer. You can call them what it is. Injuries are going to determine this division and many divisions in baseball this year. So this can easily get turned upside down. I will just tell you with the caveat that I am legitimately scared of the Tampa Rays. Yeah. I really am.
This is a two-team race in the division. The Red Sox are going to win 22 games in this. They are, Sale is out. He's never coming back. They traded away their best player for nothing. I live in Boston, okay? And baseball comes back, and you know what everybody wants to talk about? The fucking Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So there is no excitement in this city about the Red Sox. Nobody fucking cares.
I disagree with one thing, Dan, about the 22 games. Because Toronto, I don't think they're very good. And Baltimore is absolutely atrocious. I think they're going to break five.
Baltimore's best player has cancer. God, let's hope he makes it through. But, Trey Mancini was the best player on that team since Brady Anderson. And
I would flip Toronto. Sorry.
That what?
No, sorry.
What? No, Toronto, whatever. This is a race between the Yankees and the Rays. Okay, the Red Sox are irrelevant at this stage of the game. The worst news they could have received is that there was going to be a 60-game season with no fans at their dopey little stadium over there in the back bay. And they're just gonna, and for them, for the Red Sox and their operation and time and all the other guys, they can throw this year away. It doesn't even matter to them, right? Because whoever wins this World Series, if there is one, to Seth's point, it'll have the asterisk after it. It was played because of a plague. And, Toronto, whatever, they'll hang around. They'll probably end up trading their three best pitchers away, probably to the Mets again, like R.A. Dickey and Marcus Stroman. And the Orioles are the Orioles. So the Yankees are built for a long season. They're built if Judge comes back, if Hicks is back, that team they have to be the leader in the clubhouse right now.
Josh, anything you can say for yourself? You just got beat up.
I would say for the Red Sox, we're looking at probably close to what you have, 30-30. I think best case scenario, they can maybe get to 31-32 in a shortened season because of the offense, but the pitching staff's a huge concern. If they take one more blow, if, say, Erod gets out, then the season's completely over and they'll have a worse record.
He's not even good.
Yeah. But the thing was, they had that last year with Mookie Betts in the lineup. Yeah. And that doesn't, they faltered. And then once the Yankees beat the shit out of them in London, it was over, right? The Yankees took off. At 60 games, the Yankees were what? They were 7 games, I think, over the Red Sox at that point at 60 games last year. And that was with the Yankees stumbling out of the gate and then everybody getting hurt.
Yeah, I think realistically, they're going to have to be able to get guys on base. They do still have some hitters, but the pitching staff's going to kill them. So 30 games is probably the best they can hope for. But I definitely can hold out some hope for a 60-game season being shorter. It's going to be a tough one for them. I think realistically, the Rays could really surprise a lot of people in a 60-game season. I think that's the biggest chance for an upset in really all of Major League Baseball to see the Rays come up top the Yankees, but the Yankees have that kind of roster, which when you look at the roster, pitching staff, hitting, everything, if it's a 162-game season, I don't think there's any chance that the Rays or anybody else beats them, but 60-game season, let's call it what it is, it really could be a Rays year for the AL East.
Totally.
I'm worried about them.
I actually think 37 is a little bit low for the first place team in this division. Because I think the bottom is, and I think they've got a couple of years with that young nucleus, and I think Baltimore is absolutely dreadful. So I think the first place team in this division wins 40, and Soriano can accuse us of being a Yankee-centric broadcast, because I'm actually taking the Rays to win the division. I'm taking the Yankees to get the wild cards.
You're taking the Rays with 40 wins?
Well, I'm going to
agree.
I mean, the Yankees had a half-game lead on the Rays in 60 games last season, right? And then the Yankees finished with 103 wins, right? And they ran through, granted, the Red Sox and the Orioles and all that stuff, but Tampa Bay played them too. So at the end of the season, I forget, the Yankees won the division, I think, with, a week to go, because I took Andrew down to Yankee Stadium when they had their last homestand. They had it in the when you're talking about June and whatever, and I mean for the Yankees, which are a traditionally slow starting team, they had 38 wins at the quarter pole. It was like, okay, they could sacrifice 22 losses, right? Because they know that at the back end of the season they got to play the Red Sox, who are giving up, and traded are going to start moving their best players, and the Orioles and the Blue Jays.
I actually think regardless of the way the division shakes out, I think the Yankees are going to the World Series. Doesn't matter who wins the crown or the wild card. I think the Yankee, and that's regardless of Judge's health. If Judge is healthy, it's only going to be better. And I think there's actually a decent chance, depending on the NL Central, that there could be a 20th anniversary Subway Series. If the Mets pitching is really solid. I do think the Dodgers are going to falter. I think that they just step on their own toes. And depending on how the Central shakes out, and if the Braves can make it, I don't think anybody's stopping the Yankees in the playoffs, period.
Well,
especially with Cole.
I would love to see the Mets play the Braves for the pennant. I think those are, that would be highly entertaining.
Classic, yes.
That would be really good. So a couple questions. This season could give us some interesting situations. So what if in this 60
you're at a bar at 3:30 in the morning,
someone hits over 400? How legitimate is that? Josh, go ahead. What do you think?
I don't think it's anything to write home about. Say in 5 years, nobody's going to remember it. It's 60 games. I think we've had people come pretty close to that. We've seen people close to the All-Star game, near that. So really in 5 years, I don't think anybody would even talk about it. It's a 60-game season. It's not 162 games. You're not Ted Williams. There's something special about it.
Yeah, what do you guys think?
I mean, look, who was it? Was it Andahar or was it Cano? I can't remember. It was like, could a rookie in the number of at-bats qualify for the batting title, right? Yeah. And you have to reach how many at-bats to win a batting title or rookie of the year or whatever it is. And I mean, 60 games, you're going to get I'm not good at math, but what's 60 times 4 at the most? It's 240, right? So you get 240 at-bats, theoretically. Call it 200.
So if that was to happen, I guess Trout is our guy. I mean, is there another guy that could do this?
I mean, Trout's been he's been shoehorned into the MVP after year. DJ LeMahieu should have won the fucking AL MVP last year.
DJ LeMahieu
he's not like
400.
Yeah, I mean, he could. I mean, if he plays the same way he did in June and July and August of last year, he could hit 400. But I agree with Josh. everyone's gonna be like, "Fuck that!" It was because of the shortened season, and he got lucky.
Mookie
I could
Betts?
see, I could see Mookie actually, just because. Listen, he got traded. Maybe he gets re-energized. He's got a huge lineup around him.
He's got protection, right?
Yeah, tons of protection. I could see in 60 games. I don't think 400's out of his wheelhouse. So
In the prime, I mean, you trade a guy in his prime, like
5-tool player.
to the fucking Dodgers of all.
They didn't get much back either.
Well, it's
They got
okay.
nothing back.
Next
This
year,
wasn't the Josh Beckett, Adrian Gonzalez trade. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. But time will tell, right, Josh? I mean, I don't know. I was on my honeymoon when that trade was made. Funny story. I was at a hotel in Mykonos, fucking Greece, and I was like, I have to check my email right before I get the boat to go to Santorini. And I was like, holy shit, the Red Sox just traded everybody. Ha ha ha. My wife grew up in Massachusetts, so I was like, you guys are done. And then little did I know 5 years later.
Oh my God! So on the same aspect, the other issue that we could run into is a pitcher with like a 1.2 ERA or 1.1 ERA. What do you think? Possibilities?
I hate the Yankees, like desperately hate the Yankees, but I respect and love Roger Maris, and he said it best: a season is a season is a season. And the guy got screwed, and then he got screwed again, Barry Bonds and everybody else. Bottom line is we're counting this as a season for all intents and purposes. Then you got to respect what somebody did during that period of time. So if the guy's got a 1.2 ERA, then he had a 1.2 ERA, and it's a good accomplishment. There's some guys that can't throw a 1.2 ERA in a week or a month or a game. I mean, guys that can't get out of their own way. So you're talking about still elite pitchers that are throwing those kind of numbers.
Thoughts? It's going to happen. I think someone's going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see somebody doing it. You see guys go through. I mean, I look at a guy like, say, Chris Sale a couple years ago during the 2018 season. I mean, through probably July, maybe even August, he was basically hanging around too. Probably could add lower. Jacob deGrom, I could see in his prime definitely doing something like that, and he could do it this year. So I don't see why it couldn't happen. And I think pitching, I'd almost rate it higher than, I would look at that maybe better than hitting after 60 games 400. So, I would look at that better.
All right, so MVPs and Cy Youngs, there's sexy picks and then there's good betting picks, right? So for the AL MVP, you'd be crazy to be like, I'm going to pick Mike Trout at plus 105. Like, who would do that? Are you doing that, Dan? I'm not doing that.
No,
right?
no, never take anything under plus two.
Here's some other options, guys, and think these through. You got Gleyber Torres at plus 1,600, Lindor at plus 1,600, Yoan Moncada at plus 1,600, Bregman, that douchebag, at 1,800. Here's my pick. Shohei Ohtani, plus 1,800, is going to pitch once a week and hit every day.
We'll see how that goes.
No? You don't think so?
No.
That's not a bad. If he 825 OPS, hits for some power, goes out and pitches well, who's to say he's not an MVP?
Are we talking about Cy Young or MVP here?
MVP.
Oh.
Is he going to survive?
I like Gleyber.
Who do you like?
No, Josh, what'd you say?
Is Ohtani going to survive 60 games?
I don't know. Who do you like? I mean, Rendon is 2,500, but he's not the best player in his team either. Either is Ohtani. I understand.
Where's Kevin Kiermaier?
He's not on the fucking list.
Oh, great. I'll take him.
Jose Altuve is plus 3,500.
No Astros.
I
mean, obviously, all the heavy money would go to Trout just because of pedigree. I don't know. I would put Gleyber Torres up there. Fuck it. Where's DJ LeMahieu? Give me LeMahieu.
Judge is 1,000. That's the thing. LeMahieu's not going to get it because of these other names.
How about Matt Chapman?
Chapman is plus 1,800. That's not a bad one.
I'll take
actually.
that.
That's a good one. I like that one.
And I think I think like you said, the A's are going to overperform in that division.
I like that one. No, that's good. NL MVP, Mookie Betts is plus 285. You're not putting your money on that. However, Yelich is 700. Juan Soto at 800 isn't going to give your biggest return, but I love Juan Soto. Cody Bellinger at 1200.
Soto, I mean, he could, it just depends on how he comes out of the gate, right?
Doesn't have
Where's Pete Alonso?
So Pete Alonso is actually a really good pick at plus 2,000.
So you see money right there.
That's a lot of money.
My heart says Pete Alonso. My head says Freddie Freeman.
Freddie Freeman, 1,600. It's not bad either. I like those. Those are two really good ones.
Good.
You can lock those odds tomorrow. I would put them on both.
Yeah.
Split your bet. Do them both.
I like it.
NL
Cy Young. What's
it's like boxing the exacta. Take them both.
NL Cy Young as DeGrom at 325 is your favorite, obviously. Who's to say he's not going to get a third one, right? How do you bet against him at this point?
Heart
325. Bueller, Scherzer.
Bueller and Scherzer at 500. I like Scherzer so much.
Scherzer had a shortened season.
So
what about
who said that? Josh, you said that?
Yeah.
So let's take that. So you've got a 5-pitcher rotation, right? And you've got 60 games. So what? You're pitching 10 games, 11 games,
12.
I mean, but depending on rosters and all that other stuff, you're all right. We'll take 12, right? So you're talking 12 games. So can a pitcher go 12-0? No, maybe. I don't know. So how would that? It's different than you're talking about winning 12 games, in July or August, and that's where the sort of where the bar is set, right?
Yeah, I think the other interesting dynamic though is now that you're going down to 60, I actually love this part of it. You can go basically start pitching every 4 days. I mean, we're not saving these guys for 6 or 7 months. Let's start pitching if we get to game 30, if we're 1 month in the season, we're contending, and I know I have 2 hosses on the mound that can shut it down. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go to a 4-man rotation like it's the playoffs, and I'm going to shut down September right there.
Right. Or you take, for the Yankees, you take Jordan Montgomery out of the rotation, or you let your pitchers go longer. Right, and they pitch more innings, and then who knows what happens there.
Yeah,
I'm going to say right now, I think Jacob deGrom can win 10 games easily.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Are the Mets going to blow them? Is Ed Luz Diaz going to blow 5?
Yeah, but the Mets have Dylan Betances, Edwin Diaz, and the wife beater. So, what's his name? I can't think of his name.
One of those too.
I've really been drinking a lot, so I can't think of his name now.
This is your closer, Matt. Come on.
Well, he's not a closer now. He's like the third setup guy. The point is that they could close
by National League. I love it.
If your bullpen gets the shit straight, it's really good. But if Diaz can't figure it out, forget about it.
I mean, the Mets are a total wild card in this scenario. That's what's so fun about it.
Well, that's the thing. We're great to open the game. We suck closing.
But I would you tune into Mets games because anything could happen.
We're the best 6-inning team in baseball.
Works in Little League.
I know. If that's what Manfred should have done, should have made it. Manfred should have cut the games to 6 innings, and the Mets would win 60 games.
It'd be like 60
softball.
Then we could have double headers on the weekends.
Oh my God! I really think they should have done what they should have done is the Saturday doubleheader 7-inning games. I was all on that train. That's the one gimmick I would have signed up for 6 times over.
Why not doubleheader 9-inning games like they used to have?
They proposed this idea a few months ago. I thought it was brilliant. So AL Cy Young, you got Cole at plus 275, and you get a drop off after that. I mean, Bieber at 550, Verlander at 600. I guess this season's good for Verlander as an older pitcher. Lucas Giolito at 900, Blake Snell at 900. I like Tyler Glass now at 950. Personally, I think that kid is a hell of a future.
So is Verlander? Who's the number 1 in Houston right now?
Verlander.
Yeah.
I don't. He's not. I mean, he's not a.
I
love Justin Verlander. I love his wife.
I tell you what, you like Greinke at 1800.
No.
Okay. I mean, I don't know what else.
Boy, is Verlander lucky he
Verlander was
doesn't
the
have
number
the
one
bat.
for a team that was not a contender. He's not a number one in Houston. I don't see it. McCullers. Where's Lance McCullers?
Oh, Jesus. He's not. No, Keuchel is 3,000. He's not an Astro anymore, right?
That's a horrible name.
Says you.
James Paxton's 2,000.
Yeah, he's going to play half the season.
I mean, he's ready.
Canadians never put your money on Canadians.
He's ready to go. But for now. But I don't know. Like the AL, there's no good bets. I mean, I don't know who Charlie Morton at 1,500. No.
Chapman is plus 7,000.
I don't know. Otani's 2,000 for the Cy Young. Eduardo Rodriguez is 2,800. I mean, none of these. I don't like.
There you go.
I don't like them.
There's your money, Josh. Right there. Bling bling.
Yeah. Go pick it up.
I think Glasnow is going to have. Glasnow is a hell of a young pitcher. I'd really watch out for him. He's the Rays can. Boy, the Rays staff is not bad. It's not terrible.
What about Charlie Morton?
You like Morton?
He's plus 1,200.
I like Charlie Morton.
I got 1,200 on Barstool.
He's a great fantasy pitcher.
And on my bookie.
That's the guy that no one ever drafts in a fantasy draft, and you get him like after his first 3 starts.
Then he's good.
And you're like Charlie Morton. You ride even with the Pirates, it was the same way, right?
He sounds like a backup quarterback.
He does.
Charlie Morton.
I have one more betting segment for you here. World Series champion. So you got your favorites, right? You know your Dodgers are 375, Yankees are 375. The Astros are fucking 800. The Braves are 1,500. I'm not putting money on any of those teams. Okay? I like 4 teams.
The Braves at 1,500 is not a terrible bet.
Well, Seth likes them, apparently. Seth would
I do too. I have the Yankees over the Braves in the World Series. Let's do 96 all over again.
Tell you what, this is what I like. These are my 4, and then we could disagree. Twins at 16, Rays and Reds are both at 18, and the Nationals at 18. Those are the 4 that I would.
The Nats aren't going to get near it. I don't know. So I mean, I see the Tampa Bay thing, but
I don't think Tampa's going to get near it.
Tampa scares the shit out of me. I've said it like 7 times in the show.
Josh agrees.
I would say, honestly, Tampa is a great pick. Like I said, I still love them in this season. I still think that they could get past the Yankees this year. I would probably also maybe go with, honestly, Atlanta. I think it's the year they finally get over that hump in the NL East. So young teams coming up together.
It's up to the pitching. I mean, the offense is there. You got Freeman, Acuna, whatever. I mean, Ronald Acuna is going to be what Manny Machado grew up thinking he was going to be. That kid is a fucking stud.
My dream pick would be the Mets over the Yankees, revenge in 5 games, no less, with the Yankees blowing game 1, right? But I actually think a not too far-fetched scenario in a shortened season would be the Mets over the A's.
So the Mets are 2,200 to win the World Series, which is not a terrible pick. The A's are 2,200 as well. Both of those, they're not so bad.
It's an equitable pick.
It's a good money pick.
Tell us why, Mr. Soriano, we should put our money on the Mets to win the World Series.
Pitching wins championships.
Oh,
listen? Shortened season is the regular season is a regular season. You get to the playoffs, you still got to win 3 games in the first round, 4 games in the championship series, and 4 games in the World Series. And that doesn't change anything. You're going to be a little bit fresher this time. The playoffs are the playoffs. And let's face facts. Even in a shortened season, everybody we picked are going to be the most talented teams in those divisions. We didn't pick the fucking Orioles to win the AL East.
Right.
Right? So we know that the best of the best are going to be in the tournament. And really, even when outdoor, the Mets have strong arms. Jacob deGrom's the best pitcher in baseball. All respect to Garrett Cole. I joke about the atrociously Yankee-styled contract that he got, but he's a great pitcher. DeGrom has just been a steal and a gem for the Mets. And I think this manager who's untested and unknown comes from, in a lot of ways, baseball royalty. Coming from Felipe Alou, they've got a bench. Now you've got a DH on both sides, so it's going to be a little bit easier to get through. And this is also a team that, for the most part, has been there within the last 5 years. So they can get back. They know how to get there. Most of that team is still there.
Can't disagree.
The NL East is going to be fun. I hope it lives up to what we think, for sure. And we'll see where that goes. So this has been a pretty damn fun show.
It's nice to talk about baseball again.
I know. We actually had to preview a season. So what I think we'll do is when we get closer to hockey, we'll do the same thing in a couple of weeks with hockey. And maybe, Josh, you can do a basketball thing with us.
I'm down.
Rockets plus 4,000. Let's go.
What do you think about, real quick, the Rockets? Dan is all about the Rockets.
Rockets? You know what? They got two guys who can absolutely ball. And quite frankly, you never know. I think that's an ultimate wild card right now. I could see Westbrook and Harden doing something. I'm from ASU. I went to ASU, so I'm all about Harden. So if that happens, I'm loving it all day.
Like all I'm saying is that in a shootout replacement, I harp on this on the show and in talking to people, is that this is built to replace the NCAA tournament, right? So in a game, and if you get teams that come together and get hot, the Rockets are built for this shit. Like I don't think the Celtics are. I mean, the Celtics are given lesser odds than the Rockets at +4, and it's like you just said, Harden and Westbrook, I'm not betting against them. Yeah. So I would lock that in tonight if I could draft New Hampshire.
Those are two guys that could give you 80 points every single night. So,
and you're talking about a winner go home scenario, play and die, whatever. Like this isn't a 7-game bullshit, Lakers, Raptors. I mean, this is like win and go home. Winner go home.
I just want to see Jazz fans cry because they're the most annoying fan base on the planet of any sport. The worst.
Let me find. I'm gonna get some updated odds on this NBA deal here. Hold on. From our friends up in New Hampshire, because I'd like to. I'd like to lock the Rockets in as soon as possible. And that's a Diamond Dan tip of the day.
Rockets.
Here you go. Team futures. Now they're down. See, they're down to plus 1,200.
Where were they at?
I mean, they're ahead of the Celtics, the Raptors, the Nuggets, and the 76ers. So the Lakers are plus 240. Then you got the Bucks, then the Clippers, and then the Rockets. So I mean, money is moving. People are listening to Diamond Dan. I'll tell you that.
It's not a bad bet. What do you think about the Celtics at 2,000?
It's a good bet.
It's a good team. Young team. Could be the year.
Right. I mean, anything could be the year, right? I mean, this is like, the Celtics and the Bruins were playing outstanding, in their respective sports down the stretch here. I mean, the Bruins, for what it's worth, won the President's Trophy. But I would, if you want value, we're talking about value here, right? I mean, you're talking about betting value in a shootout that no one has ever seen before, with two players who can anchor a team and make things happen. And, they were, both of them, more or less, right, were supporting actors in previous runs, and now they're together. So I think in a short, neutral site, the Rockets are an indelible bet.
Yeah, I think the best bet, though, for the NBA is who's the first player that breaks the bubble? Who's going to leave the Disney bubble before everybody else? Break the rules.
Odell Beckham Jr. I don't know. I mean, maybe as soon as the Lakers lose their first game, it would be LeBron James.
Oh my goodness! Well, gentlemen, it's been a heck of a show, and we'll, I guess, be back next week. I don't know what our plans are. Not sure if we have a guest. I'm not sure if we're doing another preview show yet. We'll get that all figured out for you in due time. Any closing, Mr. Soriano, closing words?
Yeah, Pete Alonso's going to hit 35 home runs this season in 60 games.
Right, write it down, Matt. Write it down.
Okay, you're on
frame it.
Frame it.
These shows are saved and to the archives.
Frame it. Just like I said, Cam Newton was going to the Pats.
Wow. Josh, any fine words to close out your first segment here?
Red Sox win more than 30 games, doesn't get them to the playoffs, but in 2021 they will win the division as a surprise team. Now you the archive.
Yeah, Jesus, Daniel.
I have dreams too, Josh. I have dreams. I think the Yankees are clearly the team to beat in the AL. A short-term season doesn't matter. If everybody's healthy, they steamroll their schedule, and we'll see what happens. But I do like the Braves, and I think it's a Yankees-Braves World Series. And I think the Flyers and the Rangers play for the chance to go to the Cup, and the Rockets win the NBA title. And everybody enjoy your July 4th.
Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton both will not make it through the entire season. They will not be ready for the playoffs, and the Yankees will not win the World Series.
And Las Vegas stays open until August 6th.
You don't want to associate
day.
your comments with the mush, Matt. You don't want to associate your comments.
I have a psychology going by saying what I said.
And also, I just want to mention for the record that Aaron Judge did begin his training in the tri-state area at the greatest high school in the tri-state area, Don Bosco Preparatory High School. So if he started at Bosco, he's got the great St. John Bosco on his side, a great Italian, Mr. Soriano.
Don Bosco was a great Italian. Does he have all his ribs intact?
We don't know.
Isn't Don Bosco the patron saint of juvenile delinquents?
Yes, of course. Perfect for the show.
What is that?
He should be the patron saint of the show.
The other problem on this picture is that he's surrounded by 4 people, elbow to elbow, with no mask. So now he has the COVID.
It's all right. It's all right. Catholics are exempt from the coronavirus. We're good.
Holy water protects us.
That's right.
So on August 6th, you guys are going to do your show live from the Bellagio fountain, right?
Yes.
No, we'll be as far away from there as possible. By then,
it sprays out. Remember,
we'll be in decontamination by then.
You can find him at Frankie's Tiki Hut. Look it up. If there was anywhere that a coronavirus outbreak would start, it would be Frankie's or the El Cortez.
Or O'Shea's.
First stop, Frankie's.
Cortez.
Second stop, El Cortez.
Yeah, best crab salad off the strip.
Third stop will be a tetanus shot.
All right, boys, that's enough.
Okay.
On that note, I hope everyone enjoyed your hour and 23-minute show. We'll see you again next week on the Grand Central Sports Hub.
That's enough for me.